Hello everyone, welcome to Live with Sirus Migration Education. It's another great evening and a bit of information that we got few new updates, but mostly I would like to spend this time with you to share our knowledge and experience, and if you have any questions in general, to answer any of your questions related to Australian migration. Or education-related questions. So, my name is Sirus. I'm an Australian registered education and migration agent. If you have any questions, if you're someone who's looking to get updates, or if you're struggling to put your pathway together, I guess I'm trying to share my knowledge and experience through this. If we can't resolve it through this event, I'm happy to through this short period, I'm happy to share my offer you a one-on-one consultation followed by this session, and to study further into your application. So, having said that, without wasting any more time, I'll jump into our next topics. Before we move forward to the topics, I would probably remind you, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, it's a good time to hit that subscribe button. If you're coming from YouTube, or if you come in through your Facebook, hit the like button and follow button, so every time we share this sort of information at no cost, with the updated information, you'll be notified as soon as we come up, and we share a lot of information with the latest migration updates to Australia, and also share our knowledge through these sort of sessions, so you don't have to get personal contacts or appointments all the time. Okay, having said that, let's go into our topics for the day. I'm trying to I'm going to talk about these topics, but if you have a question that you're seeking an answer to any of these migration topics, or anything outside of this, I welcome you to put your question through. Until you come up with questions, I'm going to be talking about these topics. But if you have questions other than this, I'm happy to answer it. So let's go to our topic for the day, or should we go to the grants? Okay, lately we got these are the grants we had lately. We had a 482 grant for a client, and this is an 802 child visa, and we had a 186 sponsored visa grant. I can't remember who 186 was. And we got another 482 visa. Oh, nice one. I'm going to take a bit of time in this one. We had a 888 invitation for one of our clients. This is a good topic to talk about, because a lot of people are confused and worried. If you're in a business visa, everyone's thinking your pathway is now being stopped, and what's going to happen to my business visa, what's happening with my permanent residency pathway if you're currently in a business visa. So, to give you a bit of a background, Australia has stopped offering new invitations to apply for 188 visa. It's been a while now. November, I think 2022, they stopped inviting people for applying for new 188 visas. In May 2024, this year, they announced, and from June 2024 they said Department of Home Affairs announced that they will no longer be accepting new applications for 188 visas. This is for brand new applications. If you have not yet received an invitation, and if you have not yet applied for the visa, they're no longer accepting this visa, because I'm under the impression, if you planning to establish a business in Australia and try to migrate through your business expansion pathway, there will be a new visa announced. The departments, from their communication so far, what I'm gathering is this will be available from next month, and November 2024. But coming back to 188 applicants who are already in the pipeline, who has received an invitation and applied for the visa, not yet been granted a 188 visa, or a business innovation or a business investment or significant investment visa through 188A or 188B or 188C categories, or even 188E categories. If you're in the pipeline already, if you have applied for this visa, your visa is still continuing to process. So not sure how long it will take, but we are seeing actions are getting through. So you don't have to worry too much if you are already in it. This client, which I'm showing the invitation for the 888 visa, is this client has already been granted a 188 visa, and he has been in Australia for over 2 years. He's operated his own business, and he's met all the criteria that we agreed upon our invitation to 188, to the Queensland state government in this case, and now he's applying for 888 visa. So they've got no problem going forward with their application process, and this client has completed the invitation process and now applied for the visa, and the visa can be granted after satisfying the relevant criteria and at the correct processing time. So going back to, if you're in the pipeline of getting a visa granted for your 188 visa, you got the invitation and you're in the pipeline. One important announcement came in June. I have already pushed this through previous videos and discussions. These clients have an option to withdraw their application and receive a refund. So normally, once you apply for a visa, you can withdraw your application, but you do not get a visa refund. And visa fees for 188 visas are comparatively expensive. But the government announced they're no longer accepting new applications, but they will give an opportunity for people who have been in the list for so long. If you want to withdraw your application in this month, September 2024, they will consider giving they will give a refund to your withdrawal application. But if you wish to remain in the queue, they will still be processing the application. So they continue to process their business visa application, and they can continue to go on the 188 visa, and then by fulfilling the agreed conditions, maybe to go into 888 permanent residency visa through this too. So I hope the pathway that I explained is clear. But if you're one of those applicants who are currently in 188 application list, expecting to receive a visa, or if you're currently a 188 client, a 188 visa holders who is currently residing in Australia and planning to go ahead with your visa application, or if you have any questions in related to Australian business visa or business visa to permanent residency through AAA, please feel free to be in touch with us. You've got all the contact methods listed down below. You can set up an appointment with us, and we won't be charging for the consultation. We can discuss how the new changes have been affected to your application, and has there been any adverse or beneficial information provided, or is there any updates from the government. So that's all about business innovation visa. So there's not too much to worry if you're already in the queue. If not, stand tight. I think next month or in coming months there'll be a new visa category. I mean, all the developing countries have a good visa program for business and investors to migrate across, who are creating economic growth and also creating job opportunities for local citizens, and bringing value to the society. So there'll be a new visa category we expect to be announced by the government very soon, and as soon as we find out about this, we'll try to be the first one to share that knowledge and information with you. Moving into the next topic, one of the employment grants again. We have many happy clients through employee nominated and temporary skill shortage work visas coming through in many different backgrounds. So certain things you need to know about work visa. If you're one of the companies who's looking to sponsor an overseas employee, there are certain steps you need to follow and certain obligations you have to meet and provide to keep up your sponsorship approval. So you need to go through 3-step process. Out of 3, 2 are about the business. 1 is more about the applicant. So initially in this business sponsorship area, you have to show that you're a credibly operating, legally operating entity business in Australia, and then you need to show that you have a truthful requirement for a sponsor, for a new applicant to join your business in Australia. And then at the third stage, the visa stage, you have to show that the applicant is suitable for this visa category. So it's not just a matter of forwarding a letter saying I'll be sponsoring this person. So you need to reach certain benchmark. You need to pay these applicants in general at least a minimum of $73,150 or the market salary applicable for that occupation in that company. How do you check this market salary for the company, and how it relates to benchmark is the government says the minimum you have to pay is $73,150, but in your workplace you have to be able to demonstrate that you have the capacity and it's the market salary for that occupation in your business as well. So for an example, if you're currently having if you're a restaurant with three chefs, and some of them getting paid $65,000 and some of them getting paid $85,000, how can you determine the new person's salary? So you need to be able to justify if you're paying 73,150 or above for the new applicant. Why are you paying less for the other existing employees, or why are you paying more to the existing employees as well? It could be a matter of experience, it could be matter of responsibilities, but if you compare the two, the new employee and the existing employees, technically the same responsibilities, same experience, same everything, you need your market salary for that occupation in your business is whatever you're paying for the other applicant. So in a circumventive way, if you have to increase, then you have to increase for both. And also you have to show that this occupation, you're struggling to find an employee in Australia for the position, and that's why you're looking for an employee who's holding a foreign passport to go through this. So for that we need to do a market survey, advertise the position in 2 different platforms for 4 weeks, and get a report how many people applied, how many people respond to it, and why you think your nominated applicant is the most suitable person. So there are a few ways we can do it. Depending on your circumstances, when we talk to you as a sponsor, we will discuss this in detail, how it's going to suitable for your company, and how we can conduct that survey and give you a guidance. And in the meantime, there is a permanent pathway. Some people don't want to keep that obligation of 482 ongoing. If the nominee has more than 3 years work experience, skills assessment, at least competent English. Competent English is either IELTS 6 in each band, whether it's general or academic, or PTE 50 and above in each band, or if you were born in an English-speaking country like UK, USA, Canada, New Zealand. So you can you don't have to sit for an exam. You can come directly because you're accepted to be having competent English. So if you have if the nominee has those conditions, you can, instead of going through the 482 process, you can go straight into the 186 process, which only has 2 stages. At the nomination stage, they look at the company's background, the operation, etc. But the visa application, the outcome is a permanent outcome. You need to show that you have the expectation of having this employee for at least 2 years, and the applicant or the nominee also has to give that commitment to work for your company for at least 2 years. So that's a good commitment that you can rest assured you have someone who's going to be working with you for next 2 years and explore an opportunity. So there are many things. I mean, it's structurally quite simple process if you have all the documents and the process, understanding of the process. There can be few complications during the visa application process, so at further information request process, and if you were to have any consultation or some information shared by us, explanations from us, feel free to be in touch, and we are more than happy to support you through the process. Being in the 482 and the work visa sector, I think we've got a question from one of our viewers, Goraya. Sirus, please tell 482 visa about changes is good for new applicant if he's having employer right employer right now, either he should wait for or just with this visa. I'm so sorry, I'm trying to understand the question. So the new changes, about changes, it is good news applicant, if he's having employer right now, either he should wait or just go with. Look, it's like asking what's the good time. I think if you're eligible, don't wait, apply for it right now. The expected changes are mainly for 482 clients. Is right now for you to apply for 482. Goraya, a very good question, by the way. I think I'll explain it further. So the changes are, main thing, they're going to be changing the requirement. There is a requirement for eligibility of a nominee. They need to have at least 2 years work experience, plus academic qualifications, and the English requirement. English requirement is vocational IELTS 5 with no subscore below 4.5 for this visa, unless your employability, your profession requires further English. Like if you're required to go through a skills assessment, or your registration requires further English, then you have to go by that. Otherwise, for an example, if you are getting sponsored as a nurse, registered nurse, for your nurse registration you need to have IELTS 7 or the proficient English, which is 65 or above in PTE. So for that part you're going to be needing the higher English, but for the visa purposes you only require vocational English. So like that, right now we need to have 2 years work experience. From next month we are expecting it's going to be down to 1 year work experience from next month onwards. But there's no legislative information instruments being issued on this, so it is not legal, or we don't know a definite time when it's going to happen. I know back in the days it used to be the same story with 457. So it's a new change, new information coming back. So in short, if you are eligible for this visa, I would recommend you to go ahead and apply for it right now. And the conditions, if you meeting the conditions, why not get the visa now and risking for later on. I think from Sandali there is another question. May I know what is the difference between 482 and 494 visa? I'm a professional electrician and I have an employer to sponsor me with NVQ 4. Good question again, Sandali. The main difference between 482 and 494, 482 for you to be eligible to apply for 482, you need to go through, your occupation has to be in short-term skill occupation list, whereas 494 you can apply for it with your occupation in ROL list, regional occupation list. Also, if you were to go through 494, for certain occupations there are no caveats where you have caveats for 482. I'll get into it and I'll explain it a little further. So some of the requirements for 482 is you need to have at least 2 years work experience, and compete in English and in the relevant qualification, and you need to obviously have a 482 employer who's willing to sponsor. This sponsor can be from anywhere in the country, and your requirements are the same. But for 482, let's say regional occupation. What's regional occupation? Okay. Good one. turf grower. If your occupation if you're a turf grower, and because it's not in short-term skill occupation list, you cannot be applying from the 482 program. You have to go through 494 program. With the 494, you need to have 3 years work experience, not vocational English. You need to have competent English, which is IELTS 6 in each band and PTE 50 or above in each band. So I think our information on the screen, 482 sector, there's a correction to be done. English requirement is not competent. It's either IELTS 5 with minimum of 4.5 in sub-scores. You need to have relevant qualification as above as well, but employer has to be from, who's sponsoring you, has to be from a regional Australia. So other than somewhere, the employer's main office and also your activities has to be in and from an area other than the main cities, Melbourne, Brisbane, Sydney, and the surrounding immediately surrounding suburbs and outside is considered to be regional, so it has to be from a regional area. And one of the other things as well, not just the occupation list difference, some occupations has caveats. So for an example, accountants have a caveat for 482. For an employer to sponsor an accountant, they need to be able to show that the company's turnover is at least $1 million and has at least 5 Australian citizens or permanent residents working for that company before they can sponsor an accountant. For 494, you don't have it for accountants. So if you're getting sponsored from an employer who's in a regional area under a 494 program, you don't have to go through this. So there are a few changes, a few differences. 482, 2 years requirement. 494, 3 years requirement of work experience. 482, functional English. 494, you need to have computer English. 482, it has to be short-term skill occupation list, whereas 494 either short-term skill occupation list or regional occupation list. So they're the main differences. I guess if you satisfy the 482 requirement, it'll be more beneficial to go through 482 depending on your circumstances. But if you'd like to learn more, suddenly I suggest give us a call or set up an appointment one-on-one. I'm happy to waive your initial consultation fees if you talk to one of our agents and explain further. Sanjana Devami's got another question about recently my cousin got TSS 482 visa, however his age is 46 years. Do you have way forward to secure PR visa after 2 years? Good question, Sanjana. This is a complicated area, permanent residency. Yes, there are pathways to permanent residency after 45 is passed. So if the applicant is about 45 and certain Dharma areas, if you get a Dharma visa from a Dharma program, then they have permanent residency pathways. Most of the occupations got eligibility till 55. Some of the occupations are capped at 50. And the other option also, if they pass the high income threshold, depending on the occupation though, you have to go through the labor market testing, etc. If they are in a higher position, getting a higher salary above high income threshold, then they might have options to apply for permanent residency that way as well. If you need further clarification, set up an appointment. We can talk to you in person. Another good question from Goraya Mark. By law, who has to cover the nomination and visa application and lawyer consultation for fees for 482? Very good question. So it is an obligation and also a requirement for the 482 visa. Employee cannot pay any of the employer's costing in relation to the nomination fees, SBS fees, or even advertising fees, or the employee's part of the agent fees. They are required to pay and keep records of those payments with them. It's auditable, and this can cause sudden breach. I mean, this will, if they don't do it, then it'll be a breach of requirements or the conditions of the approval, and that this can also cause cancellation of their sponsorship and further penalties applicable to the employer and employer. But having said that, 482 visa application fee is on their own discretion. Some employers pay the visa application fee to DHA directly, or some employers request employee to pay it. Some people say they will pay for the main applicant, and employee is supposed to be paying for any dependents applicable. So it depends on your scenario, but the nomination fees and the sponsorship fees and the agent fees for the employment side has to be paid by the employer. Thank you. And I'll quickly move on to GTI, Global Talent Independent. This is still one of my favorite topics. This visa is an excellent visa, allows many talented individuals to come to Australia, and support expansion of Australian economy and job creation. Similar to 188 visa or the business investment visa categories, Global Talent Independent is similar but different, because you're looking at influential people from around the world. So if you are globally recognized in any of these displayed target sectors, you and your family may have an opportunity to come to Australia, settle here as a permanent resident, and have the option to apply for citizenship later on, as long as you fulfill certain requirements. There is no age requirement. There is no need to have a skills assessment. There is also no English requirement mandatory. It can be you can simply not do your English examination, IELTS or PTE. You can just substitute it by paying the second visa application charges, which is about $5,000 for main applicant and $4,000 for the subsequent applicants. From my memory, don't quote my exact numbers from this. So what's Global Talent Independent? This is an invitation-only visa category, only available for people who's getting an invitation through an EOI process, expression of interest process. If you're a globally recognized person, as I said earlier, from any of these target sectors, you could be a fintech person, you could be a digitech person, you could be energy power station developer, you could be uh, an individual who's contributing to circular economy these days. Circular economy going to be a big, it is already a big topic around the world. Energy is a big topic around the world. Health industries is a big topic in the world at the moment. If you're in recycling, energy, power, and you have a track record of recognition around the world, you got experience talking with, or you could be a fintech expert or a financial services expert, project developer. You could be in education sector. If you have that global exposure, who you be talking and dealing with world recognized organizations, global clientele, global supply list. You could be a hidden character, but you'll be doing creative strategies for this. This program does not look for technical people, as in you're the actual hands-on person. So that hands-on work is more for 482, 186, 494. This is for people who are directing, leading, and taking a team lead to bring that knowledge to Australia. Your connections, your exposure is very, very well recognized through this. One of the key points is, if you don't have, you're not required to have certain minimum education level, but what you're required to show how prominent you're in that sector. And some of the measurements are, you could be a PhD holder, you could be currently earning the Australian high income threshold, which is $175,000 per annum. That's been announced on 1st of July. This changes every year on 1st of July, high income threshold. So, and one of the problem that I saw with some of these influential people, if they are based in certain developing countries, their level of current earnings are not at that stage. It can be a very high payment from your home country, but when comparatively to Australian dollars, it's not there. But if your likelihood of getting paid, your salary in Australia is likely to be up high like this, then you're also considered as one of these fulfilling this requirement. So you need to show that you have an employer who's willing to offer you a job on visa approval at this rate. Again, there's no minimum education, minimum English, or minimum age requirement or maximum age requirement, or a cutoff point for this. You can simply do the first step yourself. You can ask yourself, am I really prominent? Am I really a global star in this sector? Am I a team leader? Am I being operating a big team of strategical, influential people, and they are enforcing an impact? And can that benefit Australian economy, Australian citizens, innovations in Australia? And this visa is for you. And I'm happy to guide you through. I think if you're eligible, be in touch. If you have any doubt, send us an email or set up an appointment. We can discuss further. So you need to go through an expression of interest process where we demonstrate your background, write about yourself in your professional life. Then once you get the invitation, you apply for your permanent residency for yourself and your rest of your family. You come to Australia as a permanent resident. You can buy your property. You can settle in Australia. You can plan yourself in Australia, and you'll have your tax rights and working rights in Australia as a normal citizen, normal permanent resident. And most of my clients who have um, who have already settled in Australia with this sector. I'm so proud to say I can see how big the impact they are making in Australia and developing their target sector. And also, I'm so glad that to hear that they say how simplified their process in Australia to move forward, because most of them they had issues, either economic restrictions, developing countries restriction, or some people come just for the weather to Australia, if from European sides. So whatever the reason for you, if you think you might have have a desire to live and settle in Australia from either a European country or a Middle Eastern country or a Southeast Asia or around the world, as long as you're a superstar in your subject matter, this visa is for you and for your family. If you're interested, be in touch, and I'm happy to be a part of your journey and explain the process further to you. Okay. So I've got one more question from Goraya. Last question for initial nomination process of initial information process of our 482 visa is AFRA is applied and yet to come after 1 month. Does it slow down or affect our process for initial process? And if no, right time. So at the time of the visa application, you need to have the AFRA registration, or in registrations you can be taken after 3 months of the visa is granted. You need to show that you can get the visa, the registration within the first 3 months. In technically, if you were to process a 482 application, registration, if you think you can fulfill all the requirement, there's no reason why you should wait for the registration. You can start the rest of the process, because SBS sponsorship application and the nomination application can be initiated if everything else is fulfilled, and you can offer the rest of the information later on. I think this concludes our session for the day. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for asking us questions. Hope my answers helped. But I know a quick session like this couldn't cover a lot of areas. But if you have a problem, if you have a question, if you have a complication that you've been worrying about in your migration pathway, it can be simplified by an experienced migration or education agent. I didn't touch the student side today, but talk to a right experienced migration agent or an education agent, whether it's myself, one of our team, or someone close to you, and get the right advice and right pathway. It can avoid a lot of delays and issues moving forward. Again, thank you so much for joining us today, and we are expecting to join you in 2 weeks again on Thursday. Until then, stay safe. God bless you all.